Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian and today we're taking a look at X4 Foundations. Now this is a sequel to the massively successful series of X games. This started way back in 1999 with X Beyond the Frontier, and that of course was also my first contact with the series. So for those of you that know all about the X series, you're going to know very much what to expect from X4. For those of you that are new to the series, I'll give you a very brief rundown. So the X Universe games are famed for their large, massive sandbox approach to a single-player game. It's all set in space, of course, and out here you can trade, you can fight, and you can build. And this has followed the same pattern through all of the various games, starting with X Beyond the Frontier, as I said, in 1999, and then with the first expansion, X Extension, in the year 2000. There's been many sequels since then, X2 The Threat, followed by a whole bunch of X3 games. X Rebirth was the most recent game to be released, but unfortunately that diverged a little bit too much away from what made the X series so popular. X4 though sees a return to what made the game series a success, and this is where we are today. So in short then, X4, like the previous games, is all about spaceships, flying in space, space stations, massive economies that you can influence and largely eventually control, as well as empires that you will get in conflict with. So as you'd expect from a game of this nature, you begin with a singular ship, and slowly over time you improve that ship, build up a massive fleet, and eventually own a large empire. Not only do you have the ability to fly these ships, but you have the ability to get up out of your seat, walk around, leave that ship, and board a station. This is all done seamlessly without loading screens, and as you can imagine, that's long been a sought-after feature with space games. So fortunately for us, it's going to be available very soon now. So controlling things with the game is done through mouse and keyboard, but it also has full support for many other input methods, as gamepads are supported, joystick, as well as full HOTAS support. Unfortunately though, there's no VR support. This is a question that Egosoft have been asked and they have addressed, and it basically means that to support VR they'd have to essentially rewrite the entire game. So it's something that's not going to happen anytime soon, and if it does, it'll be released as a standalone separate game. So you may be wondering how the control methods will work for owning multiple fleets, multiple crew members, and all those sorts of wonderful things. Well, apparently this is going to be done through the game's map, and you'll be able to give commands to your ships, to your fleets, to your stations, as well as to your crew. And anyone who's familiar with the X series will have a bit of an idea of just how massive everything can get. When you've got ships all over the galaxy in multiple star systems, and you own multiple space stations, it can get quite a lot to manage. And as you can imagine, sometimes there's some interesting things going on in one system whilst you're in another. Fortunately, you will eventually have the ability to jump between ships and areas of the game more or less instantaneously, so that you don't have to miss out on any of those interesting activities that your crew have got themselves caught up in. And this quite neatly brings us on to what Egosoft called a dynamic political system, as well as a dynamic economy. Now, the thing with X games in the past is that they have a simulated economy. This has always been a massive feature for X, with all the commodities being physically moved around the galaxy based upon supply and demand. X4 takes this quite a bit further and includes all ship modules in that economy. This means weapons, upgrades, ships and ammo are all manufactured, and they exist as a part of the physical game economy. You can, of course, take advantage of that, and you can make your own way and build your own empire in that economy as well. Now, talking of modules, you can see that ships and stations also have a modular design to them, and you can design stations yourself to suit your own purposes and your own needs. And this appears to be very customizable and very flexible, although of course at the moment Egosoft haven't gone into too much details on this. Mining is also going to play an important part in the game, and like with all activities, you can go out and get involved with this yourself, or you can send your ships out to gather those resources on your behalf. And it seems that sense of discovery really does tie into exploration as well. The universe is quite large, although there's no details on just how large it is or how many star systems there are, but there are many things to find out there. Some of these are procedurally generated and others are hand-placed, so Egosoft have tried to come up to the best balance between those two aspects, as they possibly can, and it's probably going to be a bit of a hybrid, and perhaps that is, after all, the best way to do it. It also means that there's some very interesting things to find out there, such as asteroids that are large enough to fly inside of, as well as derelict space stations that you can actually leave your ship and board. And this quite naturally means that your spacesuit is a vital part of the game. Just like with many other things in the game, the suit is also upgradable. Egosoft also briefly spoke about the Player HQ. Again, they didn't go into details on this just yet, but it does seem that's going to be a vital part of the game. As is the dynamic mission system, which all goes on in the background and you can get yourself involved in, and apparently this mission system can adapt itself towards your actions. Again, no details, but we have to go and wait and see how this actually plays out, but it does sound very, very interesting indeed. I'm also personally very curious to see how this mission system and this dynamic story ties into the multiple species and factions that are out there within the galaxy. Now, there are going to be future expansions to X4, just as there have been with previous games. The first of these, Egosoft believe they're about to release within a year of the game's initial release. And this will likely add things such as new species, new factions, and new areas of space, as well as new technology, or at least that's how it's always worked in the past. Now, the other thing worth keeping in mind is that X has always, or the X series rather, all X games have always released to a huge amount of bugs. It's usually required quite a few patches to get that stuff fixed, so day one isn't always the best days for the game. But maybe this time it will be different. Again, we're going to have to wait and see. But, you know, what we've seen here, the footage we've seen so far, as well as the descriptions for the game, do look pretty darn impressive. They're also keen to point out that the graphics will have another step up in terms of improvements between now and release. So yeah, it seems that there's still a way to go, but they're going to continue working on this, and like I said very early on in the video, Egosoft are very good at doing continual support for their games. So there we have it then, a brand new space game that not only allows you to own as many ships as you want without breaking your wallet, but it also allows you the freedom to walk around those ships and physically board space stations. Details on the gameplay itself are still only cursory in nature, but it does appear that X4 will be a broad game. As mentioned earlier, it's coming exclusively to PC on the 30th of November. I'll be having a look more on this as details are revealed. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.